Okay. Okay. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that we're in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land, and we show respect to them today. As we've learned from many of our First Nation partners, it's important to stress the importance of accepting our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth, her plants, her animals, and our shared peoples. We look to each other and the elders of both nations as a source of inspiration, guidance, and the living memory of our communities. We must ensure that the decisions we make today will take into consideration the future of our children and that of their children's children. As settlers on this land, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all of the generations of people who've taken care of this land for thousands of years. So with the addendum, which was received today, I just announced that item 5D has been removed, and the addendum included correspondence for items 5B and C as well. So with those changes, could I have approval of the agenda? Okay, thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Fellner.
I wish to declare I may have a conflict of interest, pecuniary interest related to the following matter. Council Agenda Item 8F, Report Number PL 2026-047, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Application Number R-2026-0004-F, and Draft Plan of Subdivision Application Number CON-2026-0001-F, in brackets K&C Hall Holdings, Inc. And that's just to stay consistent with the previous declarations I've made with regards to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held on July 6th, 2026 as circulated. Could I have a motion? Councillor Getty and Councillor Bazinski. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting and receive public comments for the following matters. Consent application numbers B 2026-0005-H and B 2026-0006-H for zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2026-0010-H for Mahoney, and consent application numbers B 2026-0012-C and B 2026-0013-C for Wilson, and consent application number B 2025-0031F and B 2025-0032-F for Pelkinen. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Finson and Councillor Fellner, all in favor? Thank you. As noted at the beginning of the council meeting today, the applicant's agent, Melissa Markham, has advised that the township staff that the applicant is willing to withdraw bylaw amendment application number R 2026-0009-H for Madge. As the application has been withdrawn, there will not be a public meeting under the Planning Act for that application today. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw amendment. Anyone wishing to receive notice of a decision or notice of passing of a zoning bylaw amendment and who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide their full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of Council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of consent application number B 2026-0005 and 0006-H for Mahoney is to create 2 waterfront lots on Little Lake Joseph. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2026-0010-H is to rezone the proposed retained and severed lots to implement development restrictions and construction mitigation measures outlined within the site evaluation report. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on May 28th, 2026. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications? If so, could you raise your hand? No. So nobody to speak to it. Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one is registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation.
Does council have any question regarding this? Nope. So the public meeting is closed. It'll come back with a staff recommendation at a further meeting, right? Yep. You can stay if you want. Okay. The purpose of consent application numbers B 2026-0012 and 0013-C for Wilson is to create 2 rural residential lots with frontage on Star Lake Road. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on June 28th, 2026, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on July 6th, 2026. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications? Nobody? Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
Claire Heipel, agent for the applicant, has registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation.
Hello, Claire.
Good afternoon, members of council and staff, members of community. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, that's fine. Can you identify your name and company, and then you have the floor.
Certainly. My name is Claire Hempel. I'm a professional planner with Tulloch Engineering, 80 Main Street West in Huntsville.
Okay, please proceed.
All right. Today I'm here representing the property owners for 335 Star Lake Road. This application is fairly straightforward. There's a large piece of property that they're hoping to sever into 2 new lots and 1 retained lot, in accordance with the rural residential minimum lot frontage and area requirements. Staff have outlined some conditions for approval, which makes sense. So I'm here for any further questions if council have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions? No? So thank you very much, and it will come back. Thank you. The purpose of consent application numbers B 2025-0031 and F for Pelkinen is to create 2 new rural residential lots with frontages on Black Road. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting property on July 3rd, 2026, posting on the Township of Seguin's website and by regular mail on July 6th, 2026. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
Correspondence has been received from Steve Orser.
And is there anyone present in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition? Okay, and I see Mr. Jackson as well. So we can have both of you, one at a time. You know the drill. Identify yourself.
Thank you, your
Push-
worship, members of council. I see Tully's in the audience here with me. If there's anything I'm not able to answer, I'm sure she would. This application is for the Pelkinen property on Black Road and Oaks Road, and it's creating 2 new rural residential lots that comply in all terms of standards as far as frontage and area. Not any difficulty there. The only snag that's come forward, and I don't think it's much of a snag, is that the property comes within 1,000 meters of a pit that's licensed nearby. It's almost 900 meters. And the staff feels that they're bound by the policy that's in place to require a land use compatibility statement in terms of the influence of this industrial use. Julie and I felt that there could be some flexibility in terms of applying that policy because there are intervening residences. There's a lot of geography, wetlands, there's a railway in between, and the pit really hasn't been active for 25 or 30 years. It's a small pit that I believe Hall Constructions has acquired. Staff has been great. They say that the new updated official plan will introduce more flexible interpretation of that policy, but it's not in place. So they've worded the policy or the condition in the recommended approval that should the compatibility statement from a technical person not be required, it will not be necessary to fulfill it. So they've been very helpful in that regard. So otherwise, I believe it's straightforward in terms of compliance. I don't know, Tuli, if you wanted to add anything with respect to the applications. If you want to speak, you have to come and speak into this little guy.
Yes, I would like to say that we purchased the property 1974 for exactly the purpose that what we're doing severance now, for old age. And I was surprised to hear all the conditions, because our east and west side, there was a dwelling and all around across the road. And I was really baffled by the sand pit when they brought that up. But you know what? I would like to show you.
Just while Tuli hands those out. Well, Tuli's handing those, just wanted to say to council, we have attempted to try and secure a technical consultant to give us this brief, and we just have trouble getting a response from them. So I don't know what's happened in the world. And here we are. So again, I can't blame that on staff because they have, as I say, been very sympathetic to our cause.
Okay, does council have any questions? Oh, Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. So what is the solution?
Well, if the consents are approved conditionally, the staff has worded the clause that if the new policy is in place adopted by council, it actually relieves us from the strict adherence to the 1,000-meter compatibility study.
Right.
If not, they recognize in that same condition that it's only an engineer's note, Council Fellner, that we require. Not a full-blown $5,000 study, but a $1,500 letter. But we've had difficulty securing that as well, and I don't understand it, but we're still trying. So there's where we are.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we move forward and hope that working with staff, you can figure it out and some engineer will answer your plea.
Okay.
I'd like to say, you know, in a small township like ours, well, when we got the land, it was Foley, but even Seguin, I don't understand the sandpit law like that, because I can see the huge ones like Oxbridge or, you know, out there and everywhere around the big cities. You know, so I know it's really baffling. And those pits were organized when they were building Russell, Green Lake Road, Laux Road, Black Road, and they're remnants of those times. You know, and none of them are active.
Thank you. I see Lauren ready on the screen, who's the planner you've been working with. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I can comment a little bit further. So in Ontario, it's the Ministry of the Environment, the D6 guidelines, that sort of dictates the minimum influence area that are official plan policy notes. With respect to the pit appearing inactive, staff did confirm it does remain licensed and is listed as active provincially. So until that license is surrendered, staff have to assess it as an active pit. So the compatibility brief is just intended to address both current conditions and the potential for operations to resume in the future. So I hope that clarifies that, but I am available if council has any questions.
Councillor Brzezinski.
Is it possible, Lauren, that you could contact the local Ministry of Environment office and try and find some suggestions as to who could provide that information for the applicants?
Staff can do a little bit of digging, certainly, to see if there's any other professionals that would be able to provide a brief. We don't typically recommend, but I can do some digging and see.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest you recommend, but you might be able to come up with 2 or 3 names or so, because to be quite honest, I wouldn't even know where to look for somebody like that either. That's a pretty highly specialized area. So yeah, I'm sure that the applicants would be appreciative of your efforts. Thank you.
Okay. We will do everything we can to get all the right permissions in place before it comes back to council. And we understand the predicament of bureaucracy, and we'll work with you and your planner to figure it out.
Yeah, I think the size of Ontario as a province, these little northern townships should have a little different bylaws, you know, right when you go to Toronto and Oshawa, Kitchener, London, those places, you know.
We'll do our best to get special
you.
status. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Worship. One other note, that the letter from the neighbor that was submitted is quite abnormal in the sense that they want neighbors. They're
They're
lonely.
positive. Yeah, I did see that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone who registered to speak electronically? No?
No one is registered to speak to this
And we've done our
application
questions.
electronically.
So council will now close the public meeting and reconvene. So I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matter is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. I have a mover. Ken and Greg. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application numbers B 2026-0012-C and B 2026-0013-C for Wilson, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. I need a mover, Gail and Terry. All in favor? Thank you, and that is carried. Now, are we going to pass this even though they need the letter?
I asked Laura about me, so it's subject.
Okay, so that's one of the conditions, okay. So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to the consent application number B 2025-0031-F and B 2025-0032-F for Palkinnon, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions, and that one of those conditions is that letter. So Ken and Mario? All in favor? Thank you.
For direction. Sure. that should be-
Okay. I don't hear. Okay, we have, I think we'll have Taylor explain this one to us. The colonization road allowance application, RAC -02 2026-0004-C for Forbes and Nowroth, and that's in report PL 2026-77. And it's comprehensively explained in your agenda package, but Taylor can take us through it now.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to thank Melissa for doing all the legwork on this.
Can you turn up your volume? We can hardly hear you.
Is this better? Sometimes my microphone has issues. Oh, now I can't hear you.
He can't hear me.
Now I
Can you hear me? Yeah,
can
just
you-
get closer to your microphone if you don't mind.
Okay. So on page 208 of the agenda, you'll see where the colonization road in orange pretty much bisects the applicant's properties. This would be stopped up and closed so they don't have municipal roadway going through their lands. The next steps is they would have to work with Public Works and ensure there is ample turnaround area for snow plows and whatnot.
Thank you. And this is really just to inform us, or what?
Direction to proceed with the application.
Okay, so we need direction to proceed with the application for the road allowance. Are we in agreement to go ahead? Yep, you have council support. Okay, thank you very much, Taylor. And we are going to welcome Jesse McKinnon via Zoom, I believe, from Enliven Cancer Care. Hello. Oh, we've got two Jessies. Who do we have here?
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I'm Jessie. I'm the Student Public Relations Coordinator. I'm gonna start us off with an introduction. And sorry, I just want to share my screen with you guys before I begin. Okay. So
we can see your screen now.
awesome. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to the Seguin Council for allowing Enliven Cancer Care to present today. We're simply just looking to share more about our organization and how it could benefit the residents of your community. Enliven is a charitable organization completely funded through philanthropy. We provide free programming and resources to people affected by cancer. It was founded by Joanne McLean, who noticed the lack of community and compassionate programming for people with cancer in Muskoka. And Enliven provides support for individuals navigating the journey of a cancer diagnosis, which is absolutely life-changing. Cancer is extremely isolating, and Enliven strives to foster social connections in a variety of different ways, including exercise, creativity, information sessions, support groups, all that kind of stuff. Additionally, exercise programs promote stronger muscles, better balance, and can reduce the side effects of cancer treatment. And we have tons of testimonials on our website. And you'll find that Enliven has positively impacted so many people and has become so important to their emotional and physical well-being. This year, Enliven is expanding to the Parry Sound District. We think our programs could benefit some of your residents impacted by cancer in Seguin. We want to spread the word, hopefully with your help, and get some more people that have been impacted by cancer, some resources and programming that could improve their quality of life. I'm going to pass it off to Blair. She's the program and volunteer manager for Enliven Cancer Care, and she's going to elaborate more on what programs are like and what's going to be available to your residents.
Thank you. I know we only have 10 minutes, so I'll try and keep it short. So thank you, Jesse, for mentioning all that. So I will just mention that our programs are free and available to present diagnosis, past diagnosis, as well as caregivers. So anyone who's caregiving for someone with cancer, current or past. Like Jesse mentioned, we're really excited to be expanding into the Parry Sound area this year. We have a variety of programs, some available in person and virtually. So the first one you see there, we'll be doing a group exercise program out of the CSS activity room. It's a 12-week program starting September 14th. Again, all of this will be on our website. Hopefully Jesse can scroll as we go. The Caregivers Map to Resilience is a program specifically for caregivers to really help them find themselves again, having gone through a journey of caregiving for someone else. So that's an online program that runs bi-weekly on Zoom. We have 2 mindfulness for well-being programs that are a hybrid, meaning that they're online and in person at the same time. So we have one running Thursday evenings, one running Friday morning starting in September. Restorative yoga, again, another hybrid option. So this runs, we're doing 2 6-week sessions. The first starts September 17th. Care for the Caregiver. So this is a full day event that we're very excited to present. And this, although it's in Bracebridge, we're hoping that, if you can make the trip for the day, it's just a day for the caregiver to really fill their cup. So lunch will be included. There's going to be some mini workshops, things like massage, therapeutic touch, art therapy, and just really hoping that the caregiver has some care for themselves for that day. So it's from 10 to 3, and it's running at the Bracebridge Lumber Community Center. We have some ongoing support, so these would be available all the time. So our peer support is a great program that will match up volunteers who have had experience with cancer personally, whether a caregiver or themselves, and we would match up someone who's looking for support. They would meet over the phone, and that person is really just providing them with some support and resources available in the community. And our volunteers have all gone through training for that. We offer some comfort care kits and surgery pillows. So the care kit was developed for anyone who's currently going through cancer treatment. Again, these are available by either calling us. We do have some available at CSS as well. And then the surgery pillows, they would be both a mastectomy pillow, so for after surgery, and then also a port pillow, which is just something we've designed to help cover a port if there's a port. And then I do believe it's Dr. Champion in your area that also has some of those pillows in her office. We have a book club that runs once a month, meets over Zoom. A second caregiver program called Be the Anchor. So this is a program that we developed that will have some lessons that you can watch at any time. And then you would meet once a week for 8 weeks as a group to talk about it. Caregivers don't often have a lot of time, so we designed it so they could watch whenever they did have a moment. We've introduced the Enliven Widowed Partners Circle, which is a support group if you've lost a partner to cancer. So again, that's meeting over Zoom in the evenings once a month. And then finally, our group support will be relaunching in the fall. So we're kind of revamping this program. It will be available over Zoom, a time to connect with those that are going through a similar journey. Lastly, our registration for all of those programs starting in September opens August 17th at 9 a.m. So you could either email us at the info@enlivenmuskoka.ca, which would come directly to me, or you can call us. The numbers there are on our website. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, sorry.
And then that's the exercise program, and
Yeah.
then which I've already spoken about, and then. Of course, we're looking to add to our volunteer base in the Parry Sound area. So we would really be looking for anyone who feels aligned with our mission, who's had a personal cancer experience. So both peer support volunteers we would be looking for, and also volunteers that would be interested in, some one-off events that we would have running in the Parry Sound area. Yeah. So thank you. I feel like that was quick, but
Yeah.
if there's any questions, you could definitely reach out to us. All of the information would be on the website, or I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's some now.
Thank you very much. It looks like an important program. We have a few questions from council.
Sure.
So Councillor Fellner.
Hey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for helping the people that you've helped. It's really a significant thing. And I'm sort of happy to see that you're spreading your wings a little bit and you're going to come to Seguin, and I wanted to know, what can we do to help you?
I think right now it's about awareness in the community. So just making sure that you talk about us if you know anyone who has a need, and they can always call us and ask any additional questions. CSS has been a great partner to help us start spreading the awareness. But really, it's just about getting our name out there and knowing that the programs are now available for Parry Sound. That's the main thing.
Okay.
If there's any way that you guys have a website that we can put some of our digital materials on, that would also be very helpful. But just exactly like Blair said, just talking about it is enough at this point. But just, getting our information out there.
Yeah, I just had a little quiet word with our CAO, and his suggestion is to do exactly that. We could get our information technology officer to work with you guys to get your information up on some
Great.
of our social media platforms, that kind of thing, to kind of reach out and penetrate the community, especially if your registration, it's kind of short fuse. So
Yeah, that would
the
be
next step
wonderful.
there is, but
Yeah, I think
to you.
Great.
Yeah,
We'll reach out to
we
you.
could reach out to you, and a few hard copies of your
Sure.
posters would be useful at our libraries.
I have gone to the Seguin libraries. There was a
Oh.
wonderful lady at the Foley branch who offered to send some flyers out to Christy and Humphrey. So I didn't have to drive out there. It was awesome. And yeah, they're gonna spread some of the hard copies out and stuff like that, which is great.
Thank you. You're ahead of us. We have one more question from Councillor Getty.
I won't repeat what Councillor Fellner said, but thank you. It's a great program, and anything to support the community is fantastic. I don't want to duplicate efforts that you've already done, but we do have the nurse practitioner clinic in Rosso. Not sure if you have partnered with the Ontario Health Team yet, but if you have, then I won't duplicate it. If you haven't, then I'm on the committee there. I can forward your information and your program to them.
That would be wonderful.
And have it distributed. The same management team is responsible for all of the nurse practitioner-led clinics in West Parry Sound. And I think that, this program, as somebody enters into that journey of cancer diagnosis and cancer treatment, cancer support, better to get in early than trying to be finding these resources afterwards. So if if you don't mind, I would like to forward that through that stream.
Yeah,
If you haven't already
absolutely.
done it.
Great. Yeah.
And the other question would be, I know the mayor asked about hard copies. If you can arrange to drop some hard copies off here at the township, then I will have those delivered to the Rosso Nursing Clinic and have them make them available for people in the community that may require the resources that you're able to provide.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, do you have a connection to Naomi? I am gonna butcher her last name, Wachawaya?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So we just sent her an email this morning, actually, regarding this, it's kind of a similar thing because we want to connect to the nurse practitioner clinics.
Yep.
Because I've called around and I visited a couple, but I just wanted to reach out to somebody so that they could talk to their staff. So if you could forward our information, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I've just been corresponding with her in regards to something else today, so I will forward it out to her and say that you made the presentation and forward your presentation to her as well.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both for all the work that you do. It's necessary, welcome, and it's a great program. So thank you for getting us into the loop. And good luck.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you so
Have a
much.
good day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. The next is for information. It's a report from Curtis on a request for shared services from our building department. I have a motion here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive all the staff reports as presented on the agenda for July 20th meeting of council. Gail and Greg, all in favor. And this is the one that refers to the building. I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-069, being a bylaw, enter into an agreement for the services of a chief building official, is hereby deemed to have been read first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover, Ken. And a seconder, Gail. Okay, Curtis, over to you to explain what it's going to entail.
Through your worship, we were contacted by the Township of McMurch, Monteith, who was looking for some assistance to bridge a gap with their building services. So we drafted up an agreement to agree to provide them short-term services until they can find a more suitable solution for their chief building official role and building official staff.
Does anybody have any questions about the proposal? I think we have the skills, we know that. And they have come to us asking for help. I don't see any questions, so over and out, you're on your own.
Thank you.
All in favor? Thanks. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-060, being a bylaw to delegate certain authorities to the chief administrative officer during restricted acts after nomination day, often referred as lame duck, pursuant to Section 275 of the Municipal Act of 2001, as amended, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And the details are in your council package. Could I have a mover? Greg and Terry. Does anybody have any questions for our clerk? It's pretty specific. We're lame duck for a while. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-065, being a bylaw to establish rules governing the proceedings of council, the calling of meetings, and the conduct of members, staff, and the public, and to repeal bylaws number 2020-081 and 2022-082, and all other bylaws and resolutions or parts thereof, contrary hereto or inconsistent herewith, the Corporation of the Township of Seguin, B and the same are hereby repealed is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Ken as a mover and Gail as a seconder. Do we need any explanation? It's very comprehensive in your agenda package. Councillor Bazinski.
I was just wondering if somebody could highlight the key differences from the previous bylaw, not in any great detail or length, but just what are the key differences?
Okay, Craig will answer the question.
Main differences are related to electronic and hybrid meetings that we started basically in COVID, and the different steps we've gone through and the things we put into place and the technology. And this actually, it's putting in place what we currently have been doing for, I'd say, the last year. There haven't been any changes, so it's now official.
Any other questions? All in favor? I think I kind of viewed it as modernizing us a little. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the Seguin Township Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan as attached hereto on Schedule A. Could I have a mover? Mr. Finson. And seconder, Ken. And this was first presented to us for comments on the 15th of June. Some comments have been received. Are there any questions? Councillor Bazinski.
Thank you. There are many good things in the report. I have a few questions and concerns, and I did try to contact the director, but she is on holidays right now, so I wasn't able to get any of my questions answered. Just a few comments. There's a population projection in the report that there could be, I think it was around 1,300 plus units of development between now and 2033. I'm not quite sure that those projections are still accurate. However, almost all of that development would happen in Ward 2, which is my ward. And I didn't really see recommendations for parks and recreation facilities in that ward to accommodate it. So that was one thing I wanted to check. There are a number of other things which are minor, like we talk about the Tamarack Center in it, but don't mention anything about the other regional recreation facilities like day use at Osler Park and, the trails and so on at Blackstone and that. So I thought there are a number of things that could be enhanced in the report. And I do have a concern for the ratepayers of Ward 2 that I don't think it's being served appropriately, given that we are planning for most of the development to take place in that ward. Thank you.
Our CAO will respond.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, I did have an opportunity to have a brief discussion with Councillor Bazinski about this earlier today. And my comments would be that, like any master plan, it's identifying future needs, but it certainly isn't pre-approving future projects. And I think that distinction is important because it allows the township to adopt the plan as a guiding document while still preserving council's discretion to do things like adjust priorities if growth projections don't materialize. Take into account for where development actually occurs rather than where we speculate it could. It would avoid, it helps us, it gives council the ability to avoid overbuilding based on speculative projections. it gives us the ability as an organization to coordinate with regional recreational assets. And again, leaving those decisions with at council's discretion. So can appreciate that we like to get as granular as possible. However, the plan is one that is an assessment of opportunities for the future, and all of those come back to council for council decision, whether it be through budget deliberations or through specific initiatives that would get council endorsement. So with that, Your Worship, happy to see if I can help answer any further questions.
Yeah, I guess I'm concerned. We want to keep moving this forward. We've all had an opportunity to write our comments between the 15th of June and now. We've had over 4 weeks to comment on it, and we were asked to do it in writing. So I hesitate to do anything because Dominique is taking a week off, because we were given a month to write these comments to her. Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, I did send in written comments to Dominique and to our CAO. My concern is that there are financial projections in the document, and I think honestly we could put in where are we going to get our sources of funding from? Like, is it going to be the 5% parkland dedication from plans of subdivision or what? But I just find it's got a lot of good information in it, but I still think that it could look at information a little more closely, like the example of access points. Access points provide on lakes, provide a number of recreational opportunities. They provide swimming, they provide boating, they provide fishing, a whole pile of things. And I know that because we have a property adjacent to an access point, so I see that all the time. What is the plan for the access points? Because on at capacity lakes, do we want to be enlarging access points? Because there's already, in terms of the recreational carrying capacity, they're at or over capacity. So these are the types of things that aren't addressed in there that I feel should be addressed, because we will experience development pressures, especially on the lakes like Otter Lake, Osler Lake, Rankin Lake, all the lakes in the north part of the township that will be expected to experience development pressures from the MZO lands and potentially the Hall subdivision. So I just think, there's a lot of good information in the existing plan, but I think it falls a little short, and I would like to see it deferred until we can have discussions, and I'd be happy to lead the discussions with Dominique when she returns from holidays.
If there's any discussion to be led, it needs to be with Dominique and the consultants who are here on June 15th. I am very hesitant to delay this because it's on schedule for approval, but we will call a vote. Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second, when they came back to council, for 3 of us here, it was the second time we've seen this. The 3 of us that sit on the rec committee saw it previous to this, and we all had questions, I think, and comments. I think the other 2 councillors will agree with me, and the way it was explained to us, and I think it's fair to say that this is not meant to be a static document. This is meant to be a dynamic document that can change with the needs of the time and the public and the public wants. And part of this plan will fold nicely into our recreation and culture committee strategic plan, I guess, for want of calling it anywhere, which is basically a community engagement plan to take some of these projects and engage the community. Well, here's a project that's outlined in this plan. Is this Is this a project really you want to do in Foley, or is there something else you'd rather do? Right? So it's a way of engaging the public. And I think at this last moment, I would be very, very hesitant to support deferring it, because we need to get on with our business in the rec committee. And we've been sort of waiting for this for a while now. And I sort of hate to sort of disappoint the members, tell you the truth. So I'd be against it. I don't know about the other two in our committee, but I'd like to see this go through. It's not meant to be static, Mario. It's meant to be dynamic. So,
And it's not necessarily meant to be
and
funding
there's no financial commitment to any of
financial
this
commitments
stuff.
in this report or from the consultant. So what I'd like to do is call a vote and just remind everybody, when we have the consultants here, when we have directors bring the consultants, that is the time to issue comments verbally and immediately thereafter in writing, so that the final report can, within a month, can be completed. There are a lot of people waiting for it. Last comment, Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, and when you get a report in your council package that you get on a Wednesday night or a Thursday, and you expect to have a full and comprehensive feedback on a document like that, I think that's a little unrealistic. I think honestly, I asked the clerk for a paper copy because I do better on paper, and there are a lot of things that I found in there. And you know what? I'm not talking about static or dynamic. There are a lot of things that we have to do, but I think it's a question of foresight or reaction to something. Like I'm very concerned about the access point issue, because as development pressures come, I think we have to determine, are we going to use the access points to increase pressures on the lakes, or are we going to limit the size of the access points? Those types of things are things that we should be thinking about today, not when they become an issue down the road, which they will guaranteed become an issue. And you know, there are a number of other things. I mean, if I'm out of sync with everyone, I just feel that it's fine to put a document on the agenda, but when you have a couple of business days and the weekend to review it, I don't think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. One thing that council has asked us repeatedly is when we have large documents to give you ample notice. We did provide the draft, I believe it was on June 15th, at the agenda. And more importantly, though, is when we talk about levels of service, and you're using the access points, Councillor Bazinski, as a point, when we talk about levels of service and whether we're going to invest in upgrades or enhancements or leave status quo, those are decisions that are made by council at the time. What this is doing, this document does, is gives us guidance on what we should be thinking about and where the priorities should lie. And then, of course, that's where the decision to amend, alter, or remain status quo comes back to council for decision making. So again, we're satisfied with the document. We're more than satisfied with the document, but we're at council's discretion on how you'd like to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the fact that we had over 5 weeks to comment on this entire report. And I think you've listened to council when giving us a month on documents of this size. So I'd like to call a vote. We have a motion by Gail and seconded by Ken to adopt it. And the rec committee and everybody else can move forward. So sure.
Councillor Felder,
Yay.
Yay.
Councillor Buzinski,
Nay.
Councillor Getty,
Yay.
Councillor Adams,
Yay.
Councillor Finson.
Yay.
Councillor Collins is absent. Mayor McDermott.
Yay. And that's carried. Thank you very much. Have fun in the rec committee. Sorry. Okay, we move on to planning.
And
We've first got
the agent is here
for
to answer questions if you have
on the
questions.
online.
Yes. So
Okay.
these are the Hyatt.
Okay, I have a motion that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2025-0037-H for Hyatt, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. And we have, oh, I need a mover first, sorry. Greg and Ken. And I see we have Lauren, and I believe the agent is also available. Yes or no?
Yes.
Lauren, why don't you lead off and maybe we will see the agent appear because he or she has been let in.
Just to answer questions though. So.
Okay, so Lauren, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the application before council has actually been revised from the original proposal. It was initially intended to sever and recreate two abutting properties, so 6 Hawkrick Lane and 4 Pine Ridge Road, based on the advice that the lots had inadvertently merged, as well as a small lot addition. Following the public meeting and public comments that we received, staff ended up obtaining a legal opinion from the township solicitor, and they actually advised that the properties had not merged and remain as separate parcels. So as a result, the consent to sever is no longer required. The application now proceeds as a lot addition only with an associated zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I believe, as the clerk mentioned, Sam, the agent, is available for any specific questions as well.
Does council have any questions? I don't see any questions. So that application is approved and we move on to the second part of this. So I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-059, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-010-08010 and 4903-010-010-8200 of 6 Hawkrig Lane and 4 Pine Ridge Road, application number R 2025-0023-H for Hyatt, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover, Gail. A seconder, Ken. All in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. Thank you. And I have, Terry need to leave? A motion that bylaw number 2026-047, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-030-300-1101200 of Osler Park Drive, application number R 2026-0004-F for K&C Holdings, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover, Councillor Getty and Councillor Vinson. And do we have any questions, council? Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, I have a question in that this report is signed by the CAO, which I never realized that he had his RPP designation. So I congratulate him on that. But if in fact he doesn't have his RPP designation. I was wondering why the the report wasn't authored by someone from our planning department, considering it's a planning report. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. For a variety of reasons, including my involvement in this file, and Mr. Hall's in the room here and can attest to the number of conversations we've had, meetings we've had. I've been fairly intensively involved in this particular project. It's also worth noting that in Ontario, a council report for a zoning bylaw or subdivision agreement does not require a registered professional planner to write it. So as the administrator for the organization, with support from the planning department, the planning consultants that have all been involved, the report that I prepared is before you for consideration. And I don't want an RPP designation. Thank you.
One more comment, Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, and I'm just saying that we all know that there's going to be a lot of issues in the appeal of the Rosso Springs application, and considering there are very many similar circumstances with the Hall subdivision, I think it just looks a little strange to have the CAO signature on it and not have the director of planning or even a staff member signature on it, and I will leave it at that.
Thank you for your comment. Does any other questions? All in favor? And that is carried. And the second portion of this, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the conditions of approval of draft plan of subdivision application number CON 2026-0001-F, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. And I need a mover. Ken and Greg. Any comments? All in favor? And that is carried. You are off to the races. Thank you. Yep. Oh, Terry, yeah, you can send Terry back in. Oh. Well, we wondered about that. It was a little quiet. Wait for Jason to come back. I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-052, being a bylaw to designate lands within the Township of Seguin as site plan control areas and repeal its previous site plan control bylaw number 2011-083, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Can I have a mover? Gail? Second. Greg? All in favor? And that is site plan control. Now we're on 780. Hang on, we're going through the pages fast here. Okay. So we have a motion that bylaw number 2026-067, being a bylaw to adopt a new official plan for the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And you have the entire plan in your council package, and I believe Mr. Robinson is here to answer any questions. Once this happens, it goes to Municipal Affairs and Housing. Somewhat to a never, never land, but we hope it comes back faster than the previous ones. So could I have a mover to put this on the table? Gail? And Terry? It's very well explained. Do we have any questions? Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, I seem to have struck out twice. Hopefully it's not going to be another strikeout. However, there's the issue of the recreational carrying capacity for lakes under 40 hectares. And my understanding in the council package was that we would have an opportunity to discuss and to vote on our opinion, as the planners don't want to make a recommendation. And my recommendation as a council member is that small lakes don't have any density control. The idea of recreational carrying capacity is to provide a certain density of development on lakes. And I have seen some small lakes that without this ability, they have been ringed with development. And so this is simply in concert with the natural place to be, the environmental concerns we have in the township. It's again to say that on a small lake under 40 hectares, there should only be a certain number of development units allowed. Otherwise, you can ring the whole lake. And I've seen in the past on council situations where that occurred, and to the detriment of certainly the social, if not the environmental quality of the water body. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have Mr. Robinson reply to that from a staff point of view and recommendation? Welcome, Jamie.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. So the official plan that staff are recommending for adoption is included in the package. Certainly, if council wants to make any modifications to that document through a resolution, you could make that resolution, and then we could forward any subsequent revised plan to the ministry for approval. On the specific issue of recreational carrying capacity, maybe I'll just share my screen. There's a couple of sort of bullet points that help sort of tell the story, if that works, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Can you see that okay?
It's pretty tiny, so you're going to
Okay,
have to.
let me make it bigger here. Hold
That's
on.
better. Getting better.
Slideshow.
I
Is
think
that
most
better
of us
there?
can read that. Yep.
Okay. And I can, I might be able to make it bigger too. That's too big now. Sorry. Trial and error. Okay, so just in terms of recreational carrying capacity, as Councillor mentioned, it's really to prevent a lake from being overcrowded from a recreational or a boating perspective. That's sort of where it originated, and to make sure that that recreational amenity of the lake isn't impacted. So just historically, lakes with less than 40 hectares in the township, they have not been included in the recreational carrying capacity. And just in terms of what we're talking about, sorry, there's a typo there, but there's 154 lakes that are currently meet that 40 hectares or less size requirement, and 67 of those are at capacity effectively if we were to use the lake capacity numbers that we use for all other lakes in the township. So just about half of them today would be over capacity based on that number. So you've seen a number of comments sort of on both on that issue, and some requests to have the 40 hectare number removed so that lake capacity and recreational capacity, sorry, does apply across the board. So just in terms of the historic rationale for why lakes haven't been included, or these smaller lakes haven't been included, really the one reason relates to these lakes have a low propensity to be able to accommodate large power boats. So the types of boats that would be out on the larger lakes that would sort of diminish the recreational amenity of the water body or have a potential impact. A lot of the time on the smaller lakes, you're seeing either much smaller power boats, or you're seeing self-propelled crafts on those water bodies. Secondly, is that you do have the existing minimum lot frontage requirements that's included within the official plan and the zoning bylaw, which do apply to large lakes as well, but it does apply throughout the small lakes, and historically those have been effective at sort of limiting the number of lots that you see around those recreational water bodies. If you were to think of it that on a smaller lot, or on a smaller lake, there's sort of a limited circumference or area around it, which results in obviously less ability to create lots based on those frontages. Where you get bigger lakes, you get a lot more area in the center of the lakes to recreate effectively. The third bullet point is that historically, we really haven't seen or experienced the recreational capacity issues that exist on larger lakes. That's not to say there haven't been any in the past potentially, but in general terms, the smaller lakes don't experience those same issues. I think that's part and parcel to the sheer volume or number of cottages on lakes. Obviously, a small lake with 10 lots or less lots, it's pretty unlikely that all 10 people are going to be out on the water body at any one point in time, for example. Whereas if you have a large lake with hundreds of lots on it, it's pretty easy to get hundreds of boats on the lake and on an afternoon, for example. So secondly, and finally, just allowing for limited lot creation as a control through the other policies in the OPA, and the OP does provide recreational opportunities to the township. So basically what I'm getting at with that last point is that the lot creation requirements and the minimum lot frontage requirements do create sort of a policy framework and a regulatory framework that do ultimately control the amount of development around a lake. And historically, those have really been the tool that's been used to limit lake development around lakes. And from a municipal perspective, it's also important to allow for some development and some recreational development where it's appropriate and where it's bona fide, to provide those additional recreational opportunities within the township as has existed in the past. So, Your Worship, that's kind of a bit of an overview about RCC and the history related to it. I can tell you that it was when we did the first OP with the amalgamated municipality, it was an item that was added to the official plan. It's something that was studied again in 2010 with the review, and it was determined at that point in time to stick with to include this maximum, or to exclude these smaller lakes at that point in time. So sort of every time we've done an OP review in the municipality, this has always been an issue, and there's sort of been comments on both sides of the fence. But that's an overview from staff's perspective. Obviously, we're not torn one way or the other specifically, but we'll look for some direction from council on how you'd like to proceed with this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Jamie. I just want to thank both Jamie and Taylor's teams for all the work that they've done on this. This has been a long haul and a long process, some of which was out of our control or out of your control. I like the report. The issue of the recreational carrying capacity on smaller lakes, I am in favor of it being included, because I think that as a township we should be consistent. I think that being someone on a small lake, the reality is the impact of excessive boating can even be greater than on a lake above 40 hectares in size. No different within the documents submitted, there are provisions available to staff and council for exemptions based on individual cases being brought forward. So I think that I'll say to my own position, I would like to see the recreational carrying capacity contained within all of these documents. As you mentioned, we're it's being excluded because historically there has not been a problem. The question that comes to mind then is, have we been lucky in some of these? And I think that if we're looking to maintain the integrity of the township as a whole, both large, medium, and small lakes, I would like to see the recreational carrying capacity included, understanding that we do need, there is a need for controlled development on all properties within the township. And those provisions are still available to us from what I read in the new official plan that we're looking to submit. So under section B33, I think I would be in favor of including recreational carrying capacity on all the lakes, acknowledging that those same provisions for exceptions or exemptions exist consistently right across the board. In regards to both of your teams, as Ward 3, I represent the 3 lakes. I think that I would like to thank you. I know that there has been a large number of submissions by lake associations within my ward, as well as other lake associations. And many of the issues relative to that, their concerns were addressed, and many of the environmental concerns were strengthened. So I'd like to say thank you in regards on behalf of my constituents. The one issue I know has been a concern within the 3 lakes, and the 3 lakes are a little bit of an anomaly within the township because their water levels are theoretically controlled by Lakeland Power and the outlet dam on the east side of Tally Ho Road. I also realized that although it was a request to be considered within the official plan, there's discrepancy of whether it's something that should be contained or not contained. But I do understand I want to bring forward the concerns of the 3 lakes to be able to maintain both the environmental and recreational integrity of those lakes. Clear Lake that system is a lake trout lake system, and is recognized within the official plan as the importance of them. And I'm not looking, this is more of a comment or a request, Jason, if possibly going forward, you and I can start the process of looking at controlling the level or mandating the level of where the exit culvert under Tally Ho Road is situated. That then takes, because right now we are at the control of Lakeland Power. They control the dam on the east side of Tally Ho Road. And I think that, the inverted level of that culvert is the primary way of controlling the water levels within that system. So I'm using this opportunity to ask, but I'd like to, if you and I going forward can start the process of looking at, is it feasible within the township's ability to regulate and confirm the level of the exit out of under Tally Ho Road? Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Getty, I won't claim I have any knowledge on how or what that will require at this particular moment, but I'm happy to carry on a conversation outside of the official plan approval here, that this exercise to understand what's required and take the appropriate steps to understand the process, and then perhaps we have to come back and report to council on what next steps would be from there.
And I anticipated, I'm not looking to muddy the waters with the official plan. It's just something that was a major concern, has been since 2006. And everybody's looked at Lakeland Power as being the entity to be able to regulate the water levels within those 3 lakes. And I think that it's an opportunity that us as a township, we may be able to take that and again, as I say, maintain the integrity of the water levels within those 3 lakes. So thank you. I look forward to it.
Councillor Bazinski.
Thank you. Just to get back onto RCC, the shape of a lake will dictate to a large extent how many cottages can be put on it. So for instance, if you have a lake like Otter Lake, which is long, narrow, lots of bays and so on, you have less water surface area. So on some of the small lakes, you can put quite a few cottages on because they're narrow, bays, etc. If you had a circle, a perfect circle, there would be a limited number. So you can actually put a lot of them on. And we did in, I'm trying to think when, but it was a previous term. There was an Ontario Municipal Board hearing on one of the small lakes in Seguin. So the issue has come up before, and it can be an issue. The thing is, when Foley Township was part of the Parry Sound and Area Planning Board, they had a restriction on the number of cottages with the water surface area because they said in the official plan that you would have a maximum of 1.6 hectares per cottage. And that was a commonly used planning term before we went to the Seguin official plan. Now, I did work for M&R back in 1977. Well, I was there in 75, but in 77, I was doing lake planning, and the provincial lake planning manual had the recreational carrying capacity calculation in there, and it was derived from the US Forest Service, I believe it was. And the mistake a lot of people make is that it was pure and simply an academic measure to try and identify the number of cottages based on a social crowding index. It never was intended that you go out and measure the number of boats on the lake and say, well, this lake can't handle these boats or anything. It was an academic measure to try and provide some social carrying capacity. So right now, we have no protection. Before, in the Foley official, Parry Sound and Area official plan, it had 1.6 hectares per cottage as a measure. Today, on the small lakes, we have nothing. And as pressures increase, we will see more and more applications on those small lakes for people trying to divide their property up to make some money, to be honest. And I have a real concern if we want to continue on with an environmental ethic and a social ethic that we leave all of those lakes at 40 hectares and under by the wayside. It really concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
So we did agree to revisit this, didn't we? So good for you for bringing it up. I don't think anybody at this table really wants to see any small lakes overdeveloped. I don't think that's really sort of in our wheelhouse here. I've got some concerns that, just doing the math based on what you just said, for a 40 hectare lake, which is roughly 100 acres, 1.6 would allow approximately 25 lots on a 100-acre lake, which everybody would have about 2 acres of water to play with, right? Which is sort of seems to me sort of reasonable. I don't think you'd really want to get too much more dense than that, or maybe it's even too dense. I don't know. But is the recreational carrying capacity, is that the right tool to use? Because if you're assessing all these lakes, small and large, on the same metrics, then it would seem to me that, to Jamie's point, Lake Joseph's got a lot bigger boats. Are they going to have wakeboard boats on a 100-acre lake? Well, you could have, and the guy's only got one lot too. I mean, so I'm not adverse to controlling development on lakes under 40 hectares. I'm not adverse to seeing some sort of tool put in here. I'm just wondering if that's the right one, right? Is that the one that's gonna do what we want it to do? I mean, it's, to me, I don't know enough about it. I mean, I just, I'd have to look at it and say, well, where does it become overly punitive to a small lake? You know what I mean?
Jamie, what are the other tools? You mentioned shoreline length. What are the other tools that could limit? Because I can't think of any one small lake in Seguin that I feel is overdeveloped now. So I'm trying to understand what the other tools are to prevent small lakes from being overdeveloped.
Well, there's a couple of things that come into play. So one is there's a couple of factors that come into play. The most sort of prevalent is the lot characteristic requirements of the zoning bylaw. So how much frontage and how much lot area could you have? So the frontage is really the one that would control the ultimate development and build out of lakes. The other things that get sort of thrown in the mix, so to speak, would be, are there any wetlands or environmental features around the lot that are undevelopable lands, for example? Are there cliffs or steep slopes or things like that that would negate the ability for residential lot creation? Are there any crown lands associated with the lake, for example? So those are sort of the other mitigating factors or things, but that would sort of limit the ability to develop lots around a lake. In almost all circumstances, though, just to be clear, is there would be a Planning Act approval required if you're creating lots. There's either the consent process, the plan of subdivision process, and then whatever zoning bylaw amendment or potentially official plan amendment that would be needed to implement any sort of future development scenarios, minor variants, whatever the case may be. So there are checks and balances in place, so to speak, and whenever one of those applications is submitted, the whole range of OP policies in the township's official plan, plus the matters of provincial interest that are outlined in the Planning Act, like those all get analyzed and come into play. But in terms of where the rubber really hits the road, so to speak, it's those things I've just talked about as the key elements.
Thank you. Councillor Getty.
Sorry, just a question for Jamie. Then would it not make sense there are a number of factors that have to be considered for any kind of development on small, medium, or large lakes. Would it not then, each lake is different. Does it not make sense then to have the consistency of recreational carrying capacity to be one of those factors, because there are provisions within the official plan based on all of those things that you mentioned to be considered within the process. So I guess my question is, why would we not have recreational carrying capacity on small lakes as one of the factors to consider?
Through your worship, I think I've already provided sort of my take on that and opinion on that sort of in my introduction and overview, but certainly if council wants to include that as one of the factors to be considered on those small lakes, then I'm not opposed to it. My opinion on it is that I think from a carrying capacity and a usability perspective, the opportunity to develop those nuisances that might be associated with large watercraft or fast watercraft or the number of watercraft on a lake in a period of time that might result in the overcapacity of a lake. I think it's quite limited on those smaller water bodies, which is why I've sort of leaned to the side of if I was balancing and weighing the options, I sort of tilt the scales on the side of not requiring it for small lakes. But that's not to say, like, there's arguments on both sides. I completely understand that. So, but that's where my opinion lays on the thing on this.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Finson.
My question is, or my comment is, when Jamie was speaking to us, he said that the formula that's used on the big lakes would limit development of all sorts on small lakes if you use the same formula on a big lake. So you'll have less opportunity to develop on a small lake. So my question is, or my comment would be, is there no way to have a different formula but still have a carrying capacity for the small lakes with a different, like, because if you calculate it on big boats, if that's how it's calculated, then you're going to limit development, is what I think he said, where development is possible and should be allowed. So I'm just wondering if there's a different calculation for carrying capacity on a small lake.
Your worship, you could come up with whatever sort of usability number that you so chose, but I would suggest if you're dealing with a small lake, like the reason we use the 1.6 hectares for the larger lakes is that of surface area per dwelling unit really relates to sort of how much space a boat would need to reasonably be safe around it. And if you were dealing with a smaller lake, you're dealing with smaller watercrafts, they probably need less space, which would sort of not achieve the objective that I think that some of council are trying to achieve. I think it would work in the opposite if you were to use some kind of a different number.
Thank you.
Taylor, you want to weigh in?
Certainly. Thank you, Your Worship. Staff noted earlier in the process that, in the official plan review process, that we didn't want to get into rewriting our lake capacity policies in a grand manner. We have it on lake trout lakes. We do it with RCC. We do it with environmental or phosphorus loading, as well as size and frontage. In my opinion, if council wants to kind of rewrite the script or the policy, that should be a separate official plan amendment where that's all we're doing. I think it's far too late in the process to be doing it in this document. So I think the question at hand for council and where the lake associations have noticed or noted is on page 833 of your agenda. Essentially, the lake associations have noted they want policy E deleted and D would be modified to not only be scoped to 40 hectare lakes. I think Jamie and I have said that we think that E provides a level of flexibility for council to consider on a case-by-case basis, but ultimately it is a political decision if you would like to modify it. Not sure if we have much else to add in that regard.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, Taylor, it's a very simple thing. All you have to do is take out that one sentence about small lakes under 40 hectares. There's nothing in the document that would change at all in terms of how you calculate the capacity, et cetera, et cetera. It's a simple, just remove that it doesn't apply to small lakes under 40 hectares. So there's no real big issue to do this. And again, like I've seen wakeboard boats on Little Otter Lake, and I know Little Otter Lake is not 40 hectares. I've seen all sorts of things. In fact, it's funny, a former mayor, Bruce Gibbon, won't stay on Otter Lake on weekends, especially long weekends, because of the noise and boat noise and people noise and everything else. So the recreational carrying capacity was developed in the States and then applied in Canada through the provincial government, the MNRF. It was a measure of density. It was never intended to say that you've got a small lake, so you can't put big boats on it. It was to say, all right, in theory, this is what would happen. In practice, we all know it doesn't. And everyone went and used they went out and did boat counts and boat studies and all that stuff. It was never intended to do that. It was an academic calculation in order to try and give a sense of density. If we don't have that, you can have a small lake that, as I say, is very narrow, lots of bays and everything and islands. And you could put a huge number of lots on it. It really depends on the shape of the lake too. So all I'm trying to do is say, you know, we should be affording the small lakes the same level of protection as on the larger lakes. And to Councillor Finson's point, recreational carrying capacity doesn't work that well on the Muskoka Lakes. It absolutely doesn't. It works well on medium and smaller sized lakes, but the Muskoka Lakes are so big that that quite frankly, it doesn't work that well, and it's unfortunate. But I don't think I don't think you want to start going to a process of saying, you know, there's this, that, and the other thing, because we find that all the time. If you get a sharp planning consultant, and that's nothing to you, Jamie, because I was a planning consultant at one point in my career too. You can do a lot to wiggle around things. If you don't have something finite like recreational carrying capacity, which provides a limit, then you can pretty much get around things in my experience. But that's really all I have to say. I can tell you that most lake associations in the township at one point or another, including the ones on Muskoka Lakes, have called for the restriction in recreational carrying capacity to be removed. That includes Lake Joe and Lake Rosso, and it includes Otter Lake, it includes Three Lakes, it includes a huge amount. So, you know, we've just gone through an exercise of community involvement with the Rosso Springs development. And to be honest, this is an exercise in community involvement with the responses we've had back on the small lakes under 40 hectares. If you read how many lake associations want that removed. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I have been unable to find a named lake in Seguin that I know the name of that doesn't have RCC. Little Otter has it, Clear Lake has it, Trout Lake has it. Every lake that I know a name of has RCC now because they're over 40 hectares. So I can think of some little tiny lakes that I don't know the name of and I can't find a name of that maybe don't. So I'd like to call a vote on this. I personally will be backing the staff recommendation to keep it as is, but let's have a recorded vote on this, whether we leave the official plan as written by our planning experts. So we have a vote before us. I'm sorry, you need this.
We also need to get some clarification from our planning staff. So the way I understood this, we have the bylaw for the OP, but we have two versions. One has RCC included and one doesn't. So which one is council voting on here?
I think we discussed in advance that the bylaw itself isn't changing. So when council votes on this, they should just be very clear. Are they deleting the RCC exemption, which I believe is what the lake associations and Councillor Bazinski have stated, or leaving it as is? And then we'll just put the right official plan to the province after the fact.
It's my understanding we're leaving it as is with the RCC on lakes of 40 hectares or more. Is that?
With the exemption for small lakes.
Yeah, okay. So as is keeps RCC for.
So I have a question. To make sure this becomes really clear when it's done, because there's no bylaw being signed at this table today because we don't have it. So I heard Jamie say about a resolution. Should there be a resolution first on whether or not to include RCC or not include it, and then the bylaw based on that resolution?
I would say the resolution should follow should the motion be successful, or the vote to. Because right now
Sorry, I think it's as simple as saying, do we agree with removing the 40 hectare restriction for application of RCC?
On small lakes, yeah.
On small lakes, yeah.
We have it drafted that way. Like it's done in the file system. So it's just what everyone council agrees to.
But just to clarify, what we are voting on is the OP as included in our agenda package, which has item B33E in it that has RCC for any lake of 40 hectares or more.
Correct.
So having said that, if council defeats this,
That's the problem.
then they're going to vote on the other one that has the RCC.
Yeah, I think there should be a separate vote on including it, because if you vote on the bylaw right now and it gets defeated, we're coming back in a couple of weeks.
This is where I'm coming to. The one that's on the table is on the bylaw.
Yeah, I would be voting on Councillor Bazinski's motion on the RCC
Right.
removal.
Yeah. Separate motion. There has to be a motion first on the RCC before you can vote on the OP. Yeah. That's what's being said. And maybe Jamie Taylor, you could help Councillor Brzezinski out with the wording he needs on this?
Sure, we can do that. So I think it's as simple as a motion to remove reference to lakes less than 40 hectares from the RCC consideration. If you do that, then we can modify accordingly.
Okay, Councillor Getty, while this is being written.
No, and I don't think anybody here at the table, from what I've heard, is looking to delay the passing of the official plan as it fits. I haven't heard anybody say that. And I agree with Councillor Fellner's point. Nobody at this table is looking to limit or to facilitate poor development on small lakes. It has been discussed that, if we want to do a zoning bylaw amendment later to put some other form of protection in, then we can do that. Conversely, we have had, for the people that have, a number of the lake associations have requested it. It's been a consistent issue. So I kind of put it back the other way. If it's something that we can put in at this point, as it's being sent to the province to be approved, if there is a better system available, then there can be a zoning bylaw amendment, an official plan amendment later to take it out. But quite frankly, if we do not put some form of protection, and whether it's real or perceived, I'm not an expert on it either. Councillor Fellner says, but I think that why would we not put it in? And then if the experts can tell us that there's a better formula or a formula, as Councillor Finson mentioned, that we then bring it back for an official plan amendment down the road. These things aren't locking anything in place. There are a number of provisions for exemptions within the process. And we all want to be protective. Everybody at this table is looking to protect all the lakes, large, medium, and small. And there's been a number of requests to put it in. It's something that I feel that if we're going to do an official plan amendment, we can change it to something that's even more protective. As opposed to, I can tell you right now, if we don't include it now, we're not going to see in the near future, or probably the next term of council, because there's so many things coming down the pipe, an amendment to change it later. That's all.
Right, Councillor Fellner.
I guess my hesitation, and I think if this is gonna go through, I'm not gonna support it simply because I just don't understand it. Right? I don't understand the mechanism, how it would work on such a small body of water. That being said, I'm quite in agreement that we need to control how much development could possibly occur on a very small body of water, because that's a pretty small body of water. We just, I thought the lake that I had some property on would be 40 hectares, but I found out it's quite a bit more than that. It's double that, maybe even almost triple, right? So, that being said, I mean, I think we have to do that, but I'm not sure that I want to vote for something that could just shut the doors summarily to everything, and then it never get, and just listen to me, because the other side of the coin is, to Councillor Getty's point, is if we don't do it now, then it's never gonna get done. But the other side of the coin is we do it now, it may never, ever get outdone. And myself, the way I have a policy, and I've stuck with it since I got out of bed one day and fell on my head and got on council, that, I will not vote for something that I don't understand. And I just I gotta be honest, I don't understand it. I need to see specific examples of how this is gonna affect it. To me, if it's been in the OP for as long as it's been in, and the OP's been reviewed as many times as it's been reviewed, and it's been brought up every time the OP's been reviewed, but it never made it into it, then I want to know why. Okay. I'm not going to debate it with you, Mary, because you are far, far more educated in this than I am, right? And you're not going to convince me today. I'm willing to be convinced, but just not today. That's all I got to say.
Very last comment. You've commented 7 times on this
Well,
issue.
yeah, and I feel very passionately about it. So I'm not going to try to convince you, Terry. All I'm going to say is maybe Taylor could tell us, because I know there have been a number of applications on lakes like Haynes Lake and others that are small lakes in the township. And there really is no way to limit the development on those lakes if, in fact, there's enough land to develop, and that can include cliff faces, it can include wetlands, as long as you can find a site to develop. So you get a lot of, as I say, you get a small irregular shaped lake. You can put a lot of lots on it, and to me, it's all about density. Like and it's not just boats. The boat limit calculation is a way to determine, it's an academic way to determine density. But if you have neighbors ringing around the lake, then that does provide certain social implications on your cottage experience.
Okay, we're going to vote on the motion. Haynes Lake is 110 hectares. It's not, it's already included. Okay, we're going to vote on this. It's been moved by Mario Bazinski and seconded by Ken Adams. I move to remove the reference to the lakes less than 40 hectares not being subject to recreational carrying capacity.
Well, Councillor Fellner, I appreciate your comments. I will vote nay at this time. It will be something that I would like to continue to work with staff on, though.
Councillor Felder. Councillor Adams.
Yay.
Councillor Vincent.
Nay.
Sorry, nay.
So to clarify for council now, the next item you're considering is the official plan as it is in the package.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we. Sorry, moved by Gail Finson, seconded by Terry Fellner. I'll read the bylaw once more. We have a motion that bylaw number 2026-067, being a bylaw to adopt a new official plan for the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. So we're calling a vote. People want a recorded vote or not? Yes? No, okay, all in favor of adopting what's in the council package and sending it off, okay? And that is carried. And I just want to say, it's been a very long process. Taylor, Jamie, you stuck it out through a couple terms of council, a heck of a lot of public consultation, a heck of a lot of writing. So thank you. I think we have a very strong official plan, and I hope Ministry of Municipal Affairs agrees. So onward and upward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Council.
We have the financial update for June 30th, and I hope our CFO. Okay, there we are. And surplus is growing a little bit each month, but I'll let you talk about it, Michelle.
Thank you. Yes, this is the financial update to June 30th. We are projecting a surplus of just over $51,000. Since the last report, we did receive the $38,000 pothole prevention grant, which is adding to our bottom line. And I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Does council have any questions? How many potholes does that cover? I'm teasing. Okay, so thank you very much for the update. Keep the numbers going in the positive direction, and we'll continue to smile at this end. So thank you very much, Michelle. We have business, a motion. Oof. Do I have to read the whole thing? Whoa, bear with me here. I have a motion. Whereas recent municipal infrastructure funding programs by the Government of Canada and the Province of Ontario have tended to prioritize growth-related or housing-enabling infrastructure projects over infrastructure renewal needs. And whereas the Government of Ontario has regulated municipal infrastructure asset management through OREG 588 bracket or -17 asset management planning for municipal infrastructure under the Infrastructure for Jobs and Prosperity Act of 2015. And whereas municipal asset management plans and the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario have identified that municipalities have significant state of good repair backlogs and renewal needs for infrastructure. And whereas the Government of Ontario doubled the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, that's OCIF, from $200 million per year to $400 million per year for 2021 to 2026, but has not publicly committed to maintaining this level of funding beyond 2026. And whereas the OCIF has become a vital and indispensable resource for municipalities, assisting them with improving their asset management programs and meeting community preserving infrastructure renewal needs. And whereas increased geopolitical uncertainty is threatening the economic prosperity of Canada, Ontario, and every municipality. And whereas the municipal infrastructure is a key enabler and preserver of economic prosperity. And whereas the Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario, MFOA, has heard from its members and their municipalities concerns regarding the potential erosion of existing municipal infrastructure and thus service levels in light of ongoing focus on housing enabling infrastructure by grant funding programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin supports MFOA's letter to the Ministry of Infrastructure requesting that doubling of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund be made permanent in advance of the allocations for the 2026 calendar year, while helping municipalities to continue building housing enabling infrastructure while preserving the economic value provided by existing infrastructure. Would I have a mover? Gail and Terry. Are there any questions of Michelle? This is money we have come to depend on, I believe. No questions? All in favor of endorsing this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Michelle, can you carry it by hand to the infrastructure minister, please? She's on mat leave. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint the following individuals as Township of Seguin representatives on the Hydro Corridor Municipal Task Force. I need a motion to put this on the table. Terry and Gail. And I'd like our CAO to talk to that.
Thank you, Worship. Quite simply, Hydro is working on their new transmission line, the Barrie-Sudbury transmission line. The area of study originally reached from the Georgian Bay shore lines out to the Highway 11 corridor. In recent weeks, we've seen that shrink. No longer includes the Highway 11 corridor, and it is targeting likely a very close proximity to the existing transmission line. As we all know, Councillor Brzezinski's been very active on the file and participating in a number of engagements with Hydro, as have other municipal representatives from not only from the township but from other municipalities in the region. And the concept was born in this very room, actually, with the Archipelago CAO Forrest and myself talking about how do we unify our voice and move forward. And what we're recommending is that we establish a task force with a couple representatives from the affected municipalities. Archipelago passed their resolution and made their appointments last week at their meeting. It's entirely voluntary. If a municipality chooses not to participate, so be it. However, the opportunity to bring forward a unified voice representing a broader district-wide impact with this project makes sense. And as a result, we threw together some terms of reference on what this task force would do. Of course, that would be subject to, once the task force is officially established, for them to go ahead and review this and make sure it meets the mandates. But time is certainly of the essence, as this project is looking to finalize route selection next year, with options being presented this year. And if I remember correctly, and Mr. Penger will correct me if I'm wrong, they're talking about putting this transmission line into power by 2032. This is moving along at a lightning. It's moving as fast as electricity. So we need to get some stakeholders at the table and bring a voice, formalized voice to Hydro, and ensure that they are listening to the wants and the needs. And we can't kid ourselves that if this transmission line runs in parallel to the existing transmission lines that work through this municipality, there's going to be significant impacts to property owners, municipal infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our recommendation at this point is we ought not waste any more time. We we need to put together a task force that's unified and working in a direction of representing our constituents, your constituents, our residents.
Thank you. Any questions for Jason? So we need to have some names. Do you have some people you would like to suggest?
I would strongly recommend that the two wards that are likely the most impacted, potentially impacted, would be wards 1 and 2, and that Councillor Bazinski and Councillor Adams would be ideal candidates, given it does have direct impact on their residents.
Okay, and do you accept those appointments to attend all the meetings? That's it, or is Forrest go too?
We will, I will manage the administrative support that comes along with this appropriately. But from an appointment perspective, we should get some council members appointed. We're already doing the administrative work, so we'll continue to provide the support.
Okay.
And that'll be shared amongst the participating municipalities, but we will bring our resident expert, Mr. Penger, to the table to assist.
Okay, so that's separate from the council reps. Okay. So all in favor of Councillor Adams and Councillor Bazinski from Ward 1 and 2 being on the task force? We have a vote. Gail, you okay to vote? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we have in your package, the environmental project manager of the replacement of the Portage Creek Bridge, for those of us that drive under it. Over, under, yeah, but under by boat too. It needs replacing. Big time. We don't need, this is just for information, isn't it? Yeah, so it's really information. Any comments, questions? Everybody know where it is? It's kind of behind Maple Leaf Marina or Old Gordon Bay. So. And it's tough to drive under. So we have a motion that bylaw number 2026-066 being a bylaw to delegate authority for developing, approving, amending, and implementing administrative and operational policies and procedures to the chief administrative officer is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Ken? I need a seconder. Greg? All in favor? This is not supposed to double your workload. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-068 being a bylaw to authorize a loan guarantee for the Belvedere Heights Home for the Aged Board of Management is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I have a mover, Gail. Seconder, Greg. Are there any questions? If there are, I'm guessing it would be Michelle. Yeah, Michelle could answer any of these questions. I believe this is originally set out, isn't it? Michelle?
This is actually putting the mortgage in place to replace the construction financing that McDougall, Carling, and Seguin entered into for Belvedere, but this finalizes it.
Thank you. Any comments, questions for Michelle? All in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. Council reports. Ken, you go first. It's Ward 1.
July the 15th, I attended the Recreation and Culture meeting. July the 18th, I attended the Otter Lake Ratepayers Association meeting. It was a well-attended meeting. On the 19th of July, I attended the Horseshoe Lake Association meeting. It was well attended as well. And Ann McDermott was there too as well, and she spoke about some stuff. That's it for me. Thanks.
Councillor Bazinski?
Yeah, I attended the Otter Lake ratepayers meeting as well. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet except for residents down the long arm of Otter Lake who are afraid that they're going to be expropriated if they put in the new transmission facilities. And it's a reasonable concern because hydro does have the power to expropriate. And if they're going to parallel the lines, that would be the occurrence.
Zargetti?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been quiet from a meeting perspective the last couple of weeks. The number of calls I've been dealing with. I just want to use the opportunity to mention the Rosso Classic Cruise is the Saturday of the Civic Long Weekend. It operates from 10 to 3 at the Rosso Waterfront. I'd like to thank Seguin staff for all of their assistance. They've been instrumental in getting it to the point it is right now, as well as the Seguin Recreation Committee for their assistance with it. It's made it hopefully a great success. We'll see what happens on the 1st. And I just want to mention, I use the opportunity, it is fire season. I can tell you personally, we had an inadvertent brush fire, forest fire, responded to by Seguin Fire, but this was a situation where somebody's either gone in to a remote area and decided to camp and have a campfire and lit the forest on fire, or they've had a campfire left and haven't extinguished it properly, and it's spread through the ground. And I know that we're only at high in our fire rating at this time, but the reality is we are not allowed to have open fires in the township. And as much as, you know, somebody thinks that they're being responsible and they throw some water on it, the reality is that that fire may still be active and not through. It was actually NAV Canada that spotted the smoke, and because of the relationship with our fire chief, I was able to contact them, and they actually maintained observation until our crews were able to come on. And just want to give a shout out to the great job that our fire department does and certainly did in this. So thank you very much.
Councillor Fellner?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a more interesting month. I attended the rec committee meeting on the 15th. It was well attended. Our events are well underway, and I believe they're all advertised on the website, I believe. There's been a little bit said in the news about the pool, so I thought I would sort of address what I could address here, and I'm going to reiterate what I said at the pool meeting. The fundraising committee has decided they've done their job and resigned, and I told them last week, and I'm going to tell them today, that how good a job they did, and how hard it is to raise money for something like this. And this group of people went out and raised, we're not sure exactly what the final number is, but it's in excess of $3.5 million. That with the proceeds from the sale of the land that we obtained from the YMCA, which was to be the original site, would fulfill the original goal of $5 million for capital. I also want to thank a substantial amount of the money that was raised came out of this township. More than a substantial amount of money. And I just want to take this time to thank each and every one of both individuals and businesses that supported this project, because I firmly believe it's one of the most important projects to occur in this region in the last long time. There's a bunch of sour grapes now. Again, I can't say too much about it. If you want to know the details, it was discussed and closed. We could go to a closed session in the next meeting and I could answer all your questions, but there's some sour grapes going on to some of the original agreements that were signed with the MSB, the incumbent, the new council, which were signed in previous councils, some members of the new councils think that they don't have to honor that. So anyhow, that's what it is. We're looking into the fundraising and making sure that everything is accurately been recorded and all the receipts have accurately been issued. And again, just my thanks to the fundraising team for an extraordinary job, really. I don't think there's any been fundraising other than the hospital of that magnitude in this area, and quite maybe forever. I don't know. Anyhow, that's all I got to say.
Sir Vincent.
I had a DSAB meeting on July the 9th. I had June written on everything, so I'm trying to remember it is July. On July 9th, it was they're really concentrating on homelessness, and they're doing just really interesting, innovative things at our social services office. I was at the rec committee meeting on July the 15th. There was a lot discussed there, a whole lot of things I think I volunteered for. On June 16th, we had the fashion show for the Rosso Community Hall. It was amazing. I have to say, kudos to Melanie and Chelsea Penrice, because I can tell you it was fantastic. It was like sort of worry-free. I was worried because it just seemed so easy. I went down at 2 PM and I set up and all of that. And the township, thank you. The township, they were amazing, just amazing. They broke it all down. They brought all the chairs out and set them on the dock. We did that last time. We took them all off and put them out. But this time it was just really well organized, really well attended. We had sold 50 or 60 tickets. We had donations given when people were there. They bought tea towel. It was just wonderful. And everybody went up afterwards and ordered their own dinner up at the pizzeria. He was happy as a clam. It was packed. So it went beautifully, and we're thinking of making it an annual event. It was really joyful. I was there for quite a long time. I don't think I got home till 9:30. It was a long day, but it was well worth it. Really well done. Beautiful, beautiful evening too. The smoke cleared. It was great. Anyway, that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks. 2 years in a row, it's been on the same day as the MLA meeting. July 8th was the fundraising resignation from the pool committee or the rec committee. And we celebrated on the 14th with a closing party. July 11th was the Sugar Lake AGM, again, very well attended. And that same day, Graydon was having a free community barbecue at the Rosso Marina or Rosso front. The 16th, I, by Zoom, attended the in-season wildflower info briefing. And that same day when the fashion show was on, I spoke at the Muskoka Lakes AGM, which was held for the second year in a row at the Raceboat Hall of Fame. It's between Bracebridge and Port Carling. If you haven't been, it's quite a museum. They change the boats that are in it 3 times a year. So if you've been once, you may not have seen what's there again if you're into race boats. And then yesterday was the Horseshoe Lake AGM, and it was very well attended. And they had Neil from the airport and Safe Quiet Lakes there, and there was quite a good sharing of information. And I thought it was very well attended. So that's what I'm up to. You're on.
Thank you, Worship. Just on behalf of the township, we wanted to thank everyone who volunteered at and attended the runway on Rosso Fashion Show last Thursday in support of the Rosso Memorial Revival Project. To learn more about this initiative and how you can support it, visit letsconnectseguin.ca. The deadline is approaching for ensuring you are registered to vote in the municipal election on October 26th. 2026. Residents are reminded that just because you voted in the last provincial or municipal election doesn't mean you're set to vote in this one. So please check the voter database at registertovoteon.ca before July 31st. As we all saw last week, and as Councillor Getty attested to, wildfire season is here. Please watch our website, our digital signs, our social media channels for updates on changing conditions throughout the summer months. We strongly encourage folks to familiarize themselves with what is permitted and what is not allowed at each rating level. And if you do see something, feel free to perhaps approach and politely share the information, or if there's any hesitation, the township is here to support. Our waste facilities are busy as usual this summer. Seguin residents are able to drop bulky items at the Seguin landfill for free until September 13th during regular hours. Permitted items include furniture, mattresses, brush, tires, boat, shrink wrap, electronics, and appliances during this time. Proof of residency is required. Anytime until September 13th. Anytime that we're open until September 13th. We saw another blatant abuse of the Stanley House facility this morning, with what must have taken our staff hours and hours and hours to clean up. And it was very well designed and prepared to be dumped on our property, and it's just unacceptable. And when we catch these folks, we will take them to task. On a much happier note, the Friends of Seguin Public Libraries is hosting their annual Book, Bake, and Yard Sale fundraiser on August the 8th here in Humphrey under the gazebo. They're currently accepting donations. Visit the Seguin Public Library's website for details. And not to reiterate what Councillor Getty already said, but the Rosso Classic Cruise Car Show returns to the waterfront on August 1st. The event welcomes guests of all ages. Proceeds will be donated to the West Prairie Sound Healthcare Equipment Fund and community projects. Visit their Facebook page for details. That's it for me, Your Worship.
And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda and addendum for the July 20th, 2026 meeting of council. Ken and Mario. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:47 p.m. in order to discuss matters pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal, and personal matters about an individual identifiable, including municipal or local employees. Could I have a motion, Greg? Ken? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 5:32 p.m. I'm a mover. Mario? Gail? All in favor? And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-070, being a bylaw to authorize amendments to the agreement of purchase and sale authorized by bylaw number 2026-006, and to address such other matters related hereto, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Gail? Greg? All in favor? It's the only one we need.
Yes.
And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-071, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Gail? Gary, can I have a seconder? Yeah. All in favor? I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this meeting of council at 5:33 PM to meet again on Tuesday, August 4th, or at the call of the mayor. Greg. Terry. All in favor? Thank you. Have a good evening and a good